Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back. Today we are doing a Pan and Every palette update. This is the first update since I did my introduction video. And we've made some good progress. I'm very happy. And we're still working through some things. So today I'm going to walk you through the progress that we have made. We have also added a few new palettes to the list. Okay, and I think I might end up doing one of those like ranking videos at the end of the year, ranking all the new palettes that I got this year. I don't know for sure, I'm still debating on that, but I'm adding them all to my list obviously because they are in the Pan and Every palette project, so the ones after a certain time are ones that I got this year. So I might. What do you guys think? Okay, moving on though. We're going to do some updates this time. So I think I'm just going to walk you guys through it, and then I need to update my list. I need to highlight the ones that I've hit pan on and then add them to my little checkmark thing. This is the first update I've done for a project this big, so I'm a little overwhelmed here, but let's go ahead and take a look. I did hit pan on a couple of like face / lip products, then I hit pan on a few eyeshadow products. So first, let's go back to the beginning. The Smashbox, the Legendary Cream Lipstick Palette. I did end up hitting pan in this. I believe this is my last lip palette that I needed to hit pan in. It's the shade Honey right here. It's a messier pan, but it is there, I promise. I honestly really liked this palette. The shades are really nice. It still is pretty creamy considering how old it is. And I will say, I'm really torn on whether or not I enjoy like lip palettes because sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It sucks that you can't like retouch using lip palettes. Ideally though, I only have 3. I like to like use them up before they go bad. So I need to try to figure out what I'm gonna do with that. As of right now though, I've hit pan on all of my lip palettes and this one is done. I believe that this is the only other like face palette-ish, like non-eyeshadow palette that I've hit pan on. This is the Natasha Denona Bloom Blush and Go palette. This is actually in my most recent Shop My Stash. I had a lot of usage in this prior to having it in my everyday makeup drawer, so it was relatively easy to hit pan on this shade right here. This is the Glow Extreme shade, and it's literally just this beautiful, extremely glowy highlight. I freaking love it. I've used this so much. And I had a really good start to that. When I used this palette though, I ended up using all of the shades and they're all, I love this palette. I love everything about this palette. But it was pretty easy for me to hit pan in this highlight because I had used it so much in the past. So that one was, it was a gimme, you know. And then for eyeshadow palettes, the Beauty Creations Cali Chic. This palette I had used several times in the past. This one I was actually pretty proud of because I hit pan in the shade Beach Babe, which this is a matte shade. It's a darker matte and I don't normally hit pan on those types of shades. I ended up getting quite a bit of usage in other shades in this palette too, in Malibu, Venice, Tan Lines, Boardwalk. I honestly thought I was going to hit pan in Tan Lines first, but it ended up being Beach Babe, and I just loved this shade. It was so beautiful for the outer corners, for under the lower lash line, if you wanted to put that on your lid and then do like a glitter over it. Oh, I loved that shade, and honestly, this is one of those palettes that I didn't, like, it was pretty. I am very impressed with the quality of the palette, but it was one of those that like, I could have lived without it, you know? But I'm really happy that I ended up taking the time to actually use it because I really enjoyed it. And it's definitely nice to know that it's in my collection for a reason and not just because I got it in like a BoxyCharm or something like that. But I really enjoyed that palette. Too Faced Sweet Peach is another one. My biggest issue with these Too Faced palettes, because I love them so much, but my biggest issue is Too Faced palettes, their shadows are pressed so hard and it takes forever to hit pan. So I don't think it's any surprise to anybody that the pan that I hit was Luscious, which is like a massive shimmer shade. But I used it a lot. I used it in a lot of looks, and I used a lot of these shades, I mean, quite a bit. I use Summer Yum so much, and you can't even tell. Like, it looks brand new, but I use this in almost every look I did with this palette. I love that shade. Bless Her Heart, Just Peachy, Nectar, Peaches and Cream, Cobbler. I used all of those shades so much. And Luscious, because I really like to build up the shimmers, depending on the look. Like, sometimes I'll just use it as, like a brow highlight shade and then you don't really want to build it up. But if I'm using it in my inner corner or on the lid, I really like to build it up, you know? And so this one did go by relatively quickly, although I did have a dip in Luscious prior to starting it in this project. So that's, I think that was my saving grace and the only reason that I was able to hit pan on this in such a short amount of time. But it's so pretty. I love these palettes. There's just so much product in them. So if you want one or two really good palettes that are going to take you forever to use up, go with the Too Faced tin ones because that's exactly what they are. And then in my recent, not my last one, but the one before that, in that shop, my stash, I pulled out two palettes and I ended up hitting pan in both of them. The first one was the Karity Picante palette. This one I had some usage in. I love this palette so much. There's so many things that you can do with this palette. I don't even know like why, because it's a basic palette, right? But there's just, the shades are so beautiful. They blend so beautifully. There's so many different ways that you can take this. I ended up hitting pan in the Sunrise shade, which I did use this quite a bit because obviously there's lots of yellows and reds and oranges in this. It's really easy to make like kind of the sunrise inspired shades, and I did a lot of those. I also used some of the purples quite a bit. This Flamenco shade and then Spicy were two of my favorites. You can't even see them. This is Flamenco, this is Spicy. Two of my favorites. I mixed them together a lot because that kind of got me the perfect red shade that I was going for. Embers was my guess for what I'd hit pan on first, and that one has a dip in it, but not anywhere close to what Sunrise had. And I mean like Morning and Bronze. There's so many beautiful shades in this. And I ended up hitting pan on Sunrise, which I did use quite a bit because it's this beautiful kind of shimmer, like orange shade. And it worked out really well in orange looks, in like fiery looks, and sunrise looks. It ended up being what I ended up using the most, and I'm pretty happy with that though. I am also though very pleased with the dip that I have in Flamenco because that is another matte shade. And like I said in the beginning of this, I'm probably almost always gonna hit pan in a shimmer shade because those are just much easier to hit pan on. And then also from that shop, my stash, the Colored Raine Juicy Boost. Now this one was, I believe brand new. I don't think I had ever used it when I started the project. And here's the thing, so I'm torn on how I feel about this palette, honestly, because some of the shades are really difficult to work with. I mean, it is a stunning palette, but like this Kale Yeah shade, I was so excited for this, and it's very difficult to blend. It's very patchy. This is not my favorite, but there's so many of these, and I used so many of these. And so like Cucumber Avocado was beautiful. Mint Leaves is beautiful. They're all beautiful, all of them. And I've got like various usage amongst the palette, but I ended up hitting pan in this Lemon Wheatgrass shade right here, which I used as so many things, but mainly it made a really good topper. Like it was so beautiful on the lid. I think I did it like under my eye, my lower lash line a couple times. I think I did it in the crease a couple times just because we like to shake things up over here. And I seriously, that is one of my favorite shades out of this entire palette. It's so gorgeous. All in all, I did like this palette because it's very versatile. There's a lot of different things that you can do with it, but there were a couple shades that I'm not super in love with. So at some point in time, obviously, I'm going to end up playing around with it some more and hopefully be able to kind of figure out exactly what I think. But as of right now, I like it. This shade completely throws me off of the whole thing. And then this one is a little bit interesting because this is a palette I got this year. And if you guys watched my What's New at the Drugstore video, then you'll have seen this and you'll kind of have understood what happened. And if you haven't, why have you not? That was a good video. That was a terrible makeup look. The whole thing was just, I'll link it, go watch it. Okay. So this is one of the things that I picked up during that video though. This is from Ulta Beauty. It is a quad. I bought a foaming primer, and so there's like, I had a little bit of an accident with it, but it's a quad. This is from that little Peach Paradise 4-piece set that they came out with. They came out with a couple of different ones and I wanted to try them out. And this is a pretty quad. I ended up using it to make an eye look, except the shimmers in this are so softly pressed that I was having a hard time picking them up on my brush, and they weren't coming around like how I really wanted them to on my finger either. So I put in my brush just a little bit harder to try to get up some maybe excess powder or something, you know, just to have the color come across how I wanted it to, and the entire shadow shattered. Not the whole thing obviously, but like it took a chunk out. And it happened during the video, which was the first time I had ever used it, and oh my god. I'm really honestly quite disappointed because it's a brand new quad. Like, as much as I would like to hit pan on things, I'd like to do it organically and actually get to play with the palettes and make a whole bunch of looks while I do that, you know what I mean? And this was just disappointing. But I hit pan on Flare, this shade right here. It is a pretty shade. The quad in and of itself though, as of right now, I'm not a big fan of. I do have like a speed review video coming with the products that were in that haul, an update once I'm able to like use them more, because that was kind of a first impressions. So once I'm able to use them more, I plan on doing an update with like my actual legitimate thoughts on it. But as of right now, I'm not loving this one. But I did hit pan, so I guess it kind of counts. But yeah, so that is what I have hit pan on so far. I'm going to run some numbers really quick and I'll be right back. Do you guys ever like look at lists that you've made and you're just like, why is my handwriting so damn terrible? And then I don't want to use the list because my handwriting sucks so bad. Like, is that just me? I just wish that I had like nicer handwriting. Okay, so updated numbers. We ended up, so now we have 3 lip palettes with a pan in it. We have 12 face palettes with pans, and then we've got 25 eyeshadow palettes with pans. So those numbers are good. We added quite a few this month. However, I also ended up getting 3 new face palettes and 3 new eyeshadow palettes. So I ended up adding 7 pans to my list, but 6 new palettes. Not the greatest. However, you know, we're just gonna keep trucking through. I'm really excited to see how I do next month. I'm actually using a couple of Colourpop palettes in my current Shop My Stash that I'm doing pretty well with. I'm really getting a chance to explore them and test them out and see what I think about them, and that is awesome. Like, I'm really excited about that. I will say, I'm like, I don't know how close I am to hitting pan on either of them though, because I've just been using like a variety of different shades, although I am kind of focusing on doing a couple more like pink looks. Like, I'm trying out a couple of like different things for the next couple of days, so I'm hoping maybe I'll hit pan on a pink shade. Speaking of which, let's go ahead, take a look at my eye look today. I feel like I've been skipping this the last couple of videos, but this is from the Colourpop Fade into Hue palette. It's pink with like kind of a yellow around the eyeliner. It didn't come out exactly how I wanted it to, but it's okay. It was my first time attempting to do something that had a lighter shade, like kind of going over the darker shade, but also around the eyeliner. So I like it in that regard. But anyways, okay, so that is my very first update. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Please make sure you give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you hit that big red subscribe button down below if you'd like to catch the next update or any of my updates for anything. I will catch you guys next time. Have a great one.